Hello everyone and welcome to the Channel 5 News. I am Kenny Williams. Stay tuned, we will be right back after this. Welcome back. First up, the government of Dominica and China signed 3 new aid agreements on Wednesday, valued at over 50 million EC dollars.
An agreement was signed for a grant of 100 million RMB, 14 million US dollars for education. That's construction of smart, climate-resilient schools. Prime Minister Skerrit says that investment fits perfectly into government's vision to create the first climate-resilient nation in the world. Both parties also signed an agreement providing 3 million US dollars for military aid. The countries will determine how those funds are used. China is also pledging to send agricultural experts to Dominica to implement the 7th phase of technical cooperation in agriculture. The goal is to help Dominica's revitalization of the agriculture industry.
First, I would like to express on behalf of the government of Dominica, and on my own personal behalf, our profound gratitude to the government and people of the People's Republic of China. China has continued to demonstrate its strong solidarity with the people of Dominica. You do not know who your friends are in good times. You know who your friends are in difficult times. And China continues to demonstrate its firm friendship with Dominica in our most difficult circumstances.
Prime Minister Skerrit reiterated his government's commitment to the One China policy as it did when diplomatic relations were established back in 2004.
When in 2004 I addressed the country of Dominica, our citizens, and in explaining our reasons for establishing diplomatic relations in Dominica, we did so then on a matter of principle and also in adherence to international law, which is that there is but one China, called the People's Republic of China. And we continue, Ambassador, to respect international law, and we continue to respect that there is but one China as a matter of principle. So rest assured of my government's continued support to the One China policy and doing all we can for the peaceful reunification of the whole of China. And I also said to the Dominican people then that I give them the assurance that we shall have a friend in China whom we can rely on. And Ambassador, I must say that your government and your people have not disappointed myself or the people of Dominica.
China was among the first countries to provide relief assistance to Dominica post-Hurricane Maria. They were also the first in the international community to contribute to an appeal by the UNDP of 3 million US dollars. That's a grant of 8 million EC dollars in emergency aid for roof restoration across Dominica. The Chinese government also made a direct cash contribution of $800,000 to purchase food and other relief supplies for Dominican families. China's ambassador to Dominica says his country commends Dominica's efforts to become the first climate-resilient nation in the world. His Excellency promised the resumption of work on York Valley Bridge, West Coast Road Rehabilitation Project, and the new hospital would begin as soon as assessments are completed on the damage sustained by these projects.
The advanced working group from relevant companies will come back to Dominica soon, and these projects will resume construction when conditions permitted. I would also like to take this opportunity to inform you the new Chinese medical team has been selected and are ready to come to Dominica to provide high-quality health care service according to the medical aid agreement we already signed early this year. This will enhance our substantial cooperation for post-hurricane medical service in Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, we regard Dominica as our close and important friend in Latin and the Caribbean area. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations, our friendship and cooperation has been further consolidated. China provides strong support to Dominica's development in the area of economic, education, infrastructure, and disaster reduction within our capacity. We also appreciate the coordination between our two countries on international and regional issues. I would like to assure you that Dominic will want China's firm support on the road of rebuilding a better homeland.
His Excellency says in spite of distance, the Chinese government and people feel strong empathy for what Dominica has experienced as a result of Hurricane Maria. He says he is happy to see Dominica making remarkable progress in its recovery. For Channel 5 News, this is Julian Morris reporting.
In other news, diplomatic relations established with Cuba in 1996 continue to yield benefits for Dominica in this post-Maria era. Andrea Louis explains.
Cuba is well known for its contribution to the medical field in Dominica, both through the provision of healthcare personnel and the granting of scholarships to Dominican students. Graduates from Cuban universities banded together to form a guild of graduates, which takes on regional projects to help fellow graduates in the Caribbean. Dominica is no exception, as the country has also benefited from the generosity of Cuban graduates. Channel 5 News caught up with the president of the Guild of Cuban Graduates, St. Lucia Branch, Jamal Francis. That group of graduates was on island earlier to help in the relief effort.
We came up to lend a hand. From the time the hurricane passed, we've been trying our best to find ways to assist the Dominican people. So we ran a relief fund in St. Lucia amongst our graduates. And we raised funds to basically come to Dominica and assist the Cuban grads up here, but as well as the Dominican people. So we sent up supplies, water, food supplies, etc. for our grads, but we also came up to do some pro bono work up here to try to assist. So we have a dental clinic going on this morning that's free. We brought up supplies for that, and we are also assisting with the repairs and renovations on the what school is it?
Christian Union.
Yes, Christian Union.
Okay, great. Now you mentioned the dental clinic. Is it just a one-time thing, or you plan to have it again?
Well, to be honest, as we came up this time, we realized that we probably need to come up again. So I spoke to the dentist, and she has agreed to come back up to do another clinic. So it will be happening again in the future.
Okay, great. Now, seeing this is the first time we are doing this, a clinic I'm talking about, what has the response been like from the Dominican public towards this sort of assistance towards them in terms of the dental clinic?
I know that they had taken, Dr. John, who is a graduate as well, had taken a list of names of patients who were going to come in this morning, etc. And I know that a lot of the Dominican dentists were going to be there to observe, because the dentist we brought over is a maxillofacial surgeon. So, and I don't think many people here have specialized in that. So a lot of them have come to monitor her, to try to learn a bit from her as well. So apart from the clinic, they will be learning from our dentists as well.
And of all the ways you could help Dominica do pro bono work, why do you focus on dental work?
Well, I mean, we use what we have. So we have grads who are dentists, we have doctors, etc. But whoever could come, we found ways to use them. So we had a dentist who was able to make it with her assistants, so we decided to do the clinic. I'm an architect by profession, so a friend of mine contacted me about assisting with the school. And we have one of the guys who came across with us is into agronomy. Well, he studied agronomy in Cuba. So we were hoping to find a way to link him up, but he may come back up later on and, assist the government in whichever way he can.
Now, seeing that you're an architect, let me ask, what are your thoughts on the level of devastation to the housing sector in Dominica based on what you've seen as an architect? And, if you have advice for us on building back better tips, if any, so your thoughts on the damage and building back better tips.
To be honest, I haven't had a chance to investigate too many houses. We're staying at the Garaway Hotel, and I mean, I've seen what happened there, but it was fairly well built. And I think what happened to a lot of buildings is that, well, as I was mentioning to Donnie a while ago, generally in the Caribbean, you design for around about 150 mile per hour winds, going up 200. When a hurricane comes in with 250, 275 mile an hour winds, it's kind of difficult to have all houses stand up to that. That's above and beyond what you generally design for. But it's always something that you're going to have to take into consideration in the future. You want everyone to build to withstand, say, 300 mile an hour winds, but then it becomes prohibitive for the smaller man to build anything if they're required to build to that standard.
Any message you want to leave with our listeners or viewers rather as we wrap up our discussion?
Yeah, to be honest, I want them to know that the Guild of Graduates of Cuba in St. Lucia is pushing to bring all the grads of Cuba around the Caribbean together. Not just for our purposes to better organize ourselves, but also to help out in the Caribbean, because we all receive scholarships in order to be able to come back and assist our communities. And that is one of the mandates of the Guild in St. Lucia, that all of our members are required to give time to whatever projects the Guild the Guild comes up with for the year. You know?
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. And we can look forward to you continuing to help Dominica in its recovery efforts.
Yes. We actually are continuing our relief fund, so people can contribute every month, and we'll send stuff up. I mean, there's no limit to what we can do for Dominica.
That was President of the Guild of Cuban Graduates, St. Lucia Branch, Jamal Francis, speaking on the Guild's efforts to help fellow graduates and the wider Dominican public in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Reporting for Channel 5 News, I am Andrea Louis.
In more top stories, Environmental Health Department raises a red flag about the condition at the Grotto Home for the Homeless on Bath Road. Idona Jean-Baptiste explains.
Well, it's not a pretty sight here at the Grotto Home for the Homeless as management struggles with an accommodation problem now more than ever. Most of the building's roof uncovered during Hurricane Maria, leaving residents to experience what it's like to live under a tarpaulin. Facing compromised flooring by the hurricane, a disorganized eating area, a dysfunctional toilet and roof damage, the Environmental Health Department has deemed conditions at that location unsuitable. President of Grotto's board, Paul Green, told Channel 5 News he was recently informed of EHD's investigation in a letter dated October 24, 2017.
The residents need to be moved. Over here is actually very unsuitable. I just got a letter from the Environmental Health Department, and this thing states out in all certain terms, the unsuitability of this current location and the building, of course, toilets and the roof, is gone, and holes in the floor, mosquitoes. Downstairs is like a swimming pool, a cesspool. Yep. It's terrible. I didn't need the letter, to tell you to tell me, that the place is totally unsuitable, but this just reinforces the fact, So I'm hoping that the authorities, when I show that to them, I'm not averse to showing this to people, I mean, I'm not going to publicize the whole thing, and but people have to understand. And these are people, who look at them, some of them have one leg, some of them can't see, and some of them are mentally unstable. And most of them, are beyond the age of 50 and 60.
But it's not only Hurricane Maria's devastation that has underscored the need for the Home for the Homeless to be moved out of that building. Plans have been ongoing for several years to have residents relocated to a new building at Bellevue Roll. When we last spoke to Green in June, the project was just a month away from being completed to facilitate the move. But it was delayed again. The last delay was the wait for the building contractor to visit the new location to prepare estimates to address minimal roof damage from the hurricane.
I also called the minister, that's Miss Danielle, and over the past few days, but for some odd reason I'm unable to get in touch with her. I know that she's very interested because I actually brought her over there. She came with me just the Friday before the hurricane, and she's very, very interested in the welfare. As are the other government officials, of course, But these things take time, I guess, Almost as soon as everything was over, along comes the hurricane, and puts a damper on all our plans.
What do you do? It just seems like your hands are tied.
Well, the thing is, the pockets are empty, our pockets are empty. We don't have money. Actually, we just got $4,000 from the president's fundraising activity last week, which will help, but we need, significantly more than that. So I'm hoping that government, government has been very good so far, they've given us, as they give us some $200,000 recently, and I'm just hoping that they can give us some more.
Further compounding the situation is that some displaced people have made the Grotto's new building their home.
Immediately after the hurricane, a lot of people from Yampis area, from the Bellevue area, their houses were smashed and their roofs came out and so on, you know. So they went into the place, into the new location that is, you know, of the grotto. As a matter of fact, you know, they actually smashed certain doors to get into the place. And we could understand that, but subsequently, maybe about 3 weeks afterwards, I actually went up there and looked at the area, you know, and walked through with somebody else. And then I went back to town, you know, and I called the local government and I told them, look, you know, I would like you all to come up there with me and bring along some police, you know, because I want to see the situation there. I want you all to see the situation. And also, you know, to talk to the people and make them understand that, you know, this is just a very, very, very temporary thing. They did come up there, you know, policemen came up there and so on, and we did speak to them.
One might argue, Mr. Green, why wait? Why, if people have already sought refuge at the new location and here is already in a deplorable state, why not move the residents to up at Bellevue Road?
Together with the people, that's a good idea, you know. That's what I love to do. The fact of the matter is the people are over there. If you go to Bellevue Road and you go into some of the rooms, you know, some of the units, in fact, you're going to see guys, you're going to see things like cooking utensils, you're going to see stove. I haven't seen a fridge yet. Guys even have motorcycles parked there. You know, you're going to see all sorts of things, you know, all sorts of utensils, and people have set up their things, you know, like they're there for a while. They're going to be there for a while. Like they've been renting a place or something, you know, and they have a right to be there.
So the challenge now is to get these people...
Is to get them out.
In an already stressed situation, the home's property has also been vandalized.
I find it very strange. In fact, we found it very strange, you know, that the galvanized that was used, you know, that's 24 gauge galvanized, that galvanized was screwed on. There's no sign of any lifting of the remnants of any screws or galvanized, you know, that came from there. So it's obvious to me that somebody, some person or persons, you know, came up there, took their time and unscrewed the galvanized sheets and took them away. We had a brand new vehicle, it's a new APV, which we had just bought, paid for. And I used to have it parked at my home, used to, over a period of 1 week or so. And then I took it from there and brought it up, and I figured it would weather the hurricane better than staying by my home, you know, where in the event it got damaged, you know, people might say, well, look, you know, what was it doing at Paul Green's home? That kind of thing, you know, so I left it over there. Just after the hurricane, some young guy came in, and his name is known because I reported him to the police, you know, and also his pseudonym, his nickname is known as well. And I reported to the police, you know, and up to now nothing has been done. The guy took out the whole wheel and replaced it after, maybe days afterwards, you know, when he got to know that people had seen him and so on. At the time, I don't suppose he really cared. And he replaced it with an old wheel, you know, an old rim and tire. And not only that, you know, he tried to get some petrol out of the vehicle by bursting the gas tank. He couldn't succeed there, so he went under the vehicle and he bored a hole. He punched a hole, rather, into the gas tank, and he drained the vehicle of gas.
Among the findings by the EHD at the Old Grotto on October 19 are poor sanitation and no water at the facility. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
Next up, President of Dominica Olympic Committee, Billy Doctrove, reports that the organization is one step closer to having a place of its own. Since taking up the presidency in May, Doctrove has been advocating for the DOC to purchase a building. Recently, head of that committee says negotiations with the International Olympic Committee are bearing fruit.
We also made a request, because this is a rental property. We pay rent every month, so we're looking at the opportunity, at the possibility of having our own office. And we have identified a building somewhere around Roseau and Rose Environments, where we are looking at the opportunity, at the possibility of purchasing that building. So we have made a request, and the Olympic Committee has said that they would just ask us to try and negotiate further to see if we can bring down the cost a bit, but we are hopeful that we can possibly get that building in the shortest time, so that we can have our own building, because many of the Olympic committees throughout the Caribbean have their own building, and it's always a plus when you have your own. So we have identified a building, and we're hoping that we can convince the Olympic Committee that if they can give us the funding for that. But there are little areas that we still need to discuss with them concerning that.
Several sporting disciplines and stakeholders in sports were affected due to the passage of the September 18 hurricane, but Dr. Trev says there is a plan to assist those in need.
We have categorized the damages in 3 categories: in mild, severe, and total destruction, because we have some athletes and coaches, persons involved in sports, who lost their dwelling houses completely. So we have identified just over 20 persons who are different levels of damage, and we have made the recommendation to the Olympic Committee, and we are hoping that in the near future that they can come back with a positive word to help in the refurbishment of those persons and their homes. We're looking at 1 or 2 facilities around Dominica where we can possibly make some kind of contribution, where we can get the Olympic Committee and PASO to assist us in that area, because we believe that some of the facilities, though government owned, but it's for the use of all sports persons in Dominica. So we have identified a few areas that we believe that if we can get the funding for that, and so we're hoping that we can get the funding to improve those facilities. We are very optimistic. We had a telephone conversation with the Panam's people, the PASO representatives, the president and the secretary, and we had a very fruitful discussion with them, and they were looking at ways and means where they can push forward the funding and make it come a bit quicker.
Meantime, the establishment of a 400-meter track has been dealt yet another blow with the passage of Hurricane Maria, but Dr. Trev hopes that it will happen before the end of his tenure.
Unfortunately, the 400-meter track that we were well on the way for discussion before hurricane, unfortunately that has to be put on the back burner, because this is a major project, and we will have to look at more immediate things that we can do more immediately before we can go on to the 400-meter track. But this is something that we have deep down in our mind, and we really believe that Dominica cannot go forward in sports, in track and field, in any area in athletics without a 400-meter all-purpose weather track. So this is something that we have. This is something personally that is very dear to me, and I want to know when I leave this office, whenever it is, that we are much closer to having a 400-meter track, or probably have it already before I leave, because this is one thing I really want us to have.
The task ahead for the DOC will not be easy, but President of the umbrella body for sports here believes his team is committed to the task as they play their part in the recovery efforts for sports post-Hurricane Maria. And plans are on the way for the relocation of the Ebenezer SDA Primary School. Here is Andrea Lee with more.
That's the word from Island Coordinator for the Eastern Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, Pastor Felix Jack. Jack, who was tasked with the responsibility of Island Coordinator earlier this month, says the relocation of the school is necessary due to the recent natural disasters which have severely impacted the school.
For the school, we have an international organization that is operated by the church called Maranatha Flight International. And they are in this business of rebuilding and building homes and churches and schools. We have already secured their services, and they will be coming in to look at building the school in Roseau. You know, our school, which is housed at the downstairs of the church over the bridge, has been flooded out. This is second time, first time with Erica. And so we have to start thinking about relocation. We have lands in the Goodwill area, and that is one of the places that we are going to rebuild, seek to rebuild that school. So we have already secured their services for that, and also the French, our members from Guadeloupe, they are seeking help from ADRA France to also assist in the building of that school also. So those are some of the things that are have been put in place for that particular school. For the secondary school in Portsmouth, we already putting things in place for the recovering of that school and the dormitory that was affected. So little by little we are putting things in place to really get these things up and going.
28 of the island's 34 Adventist church buildings have also been seriously compromised because of Hurricane Maria, and steps are being taken to secure these structures.
We operate our own insurance, which is called risk management, Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they came in about 2 weeks ago, and they have done their assessment and so on. So we are waiting their response in terms of the payout for the churches. So that will be forthcoming anytime soon. Also, on the Sister Prevost's initiative, we have organized the island into 4 zones, and we have seek to activate all the building committees in the churches, and all the chairpersons of these committees will form a zonal committee, which will really spearhead the rebuilding efforts within the different zones. And we have also had 2 meetings with them, and the last meeting we were getting reports as to where they are with their plans. One of the things that they need to do is to do a quantity assessment in terms of materials, what they need. Also, they will be looking for housing for when volunteers come in so that we can house them, and basically make all the necessary preparation for the rebuilding process.
Jack admits that though the church has a humongous rebuilding task ahead, it is committed to seeing this through.
Our members have been very, very generous in terms of their giving, not only in the giving of relief items, but our members across the world and in the region, they are already planning and promising help in terms of monetary help for the rebuilding. So that is one thing that we are looking at also to help in terms of getting us moving forward.
Reporting for Channel 5 News, I am Andrea Louis.
This has been the Channel 5 News. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers all around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.